All right. Welcome to my Jumping Lily Pads series. This is a book I wrote, Jumping Lily Pads. It's available on Amazon. And I just felt, oh no, I would say I felt really inspired to just read a couple of chapters in it. And that's what we're going to do. So, welcome to Jumping Lily Pads by me, Mariah Slingerland. Okay, let's get started. Acknowledgement. I would like to thank me, myself, and I for having the courage to jump. Prologue. I never planned to jump lily pads for a living. In fact, for most of my life, I didn't even realize that's what I was doing, hopping from one belief system to another, testing each one like a frog in search of the perfect pond. Some felt sturdy, others wobbled under my weight, and a few straight up sank the moment I landed. Those were fun. But here's the thing. Every time I thought I had life figured out, the universe would chuck a rock into my pond, sending ripples that made me rethink everything. And oh, did I rethink? I questioned, I doubted, I occasionally argued with the sky like a devoted seeker. But through it all, I never gave up. I refused to settle for a life that didn't make sense just because someone else told me it should. This book is my way of inviting you into that journey, one filled with unexpected lessons, spiritual plot twists, and moments where I probably should have read the fine print before saying, sure, let's try that. I'll share what I've learned, what I've unlearned, and how I managed to look up, point to the sky, shake my head, and say, good one, through it all. So if you ever felt like the beliefs you were handed didn't quite fit, if you ever had life pull the rug out from under you only to realize it wasn't a rug, but a trampoline, or if you enjoy a good story about spiritual trial and error, welcome. Let's hop to it. Chapter 1. A Quiet Departure. This is where my story begins. I'm a mother of a son and a daughter, recently remarried, and my life has felt like a pot simmering on a stove, full of potential, but never quite reaching a boil. On a typical Southern California afternoon, the children played outside, their laughter echoing against the pavement. Everything seemed ordinary until it wasn't. The car pulled up for my son's football practice, and something in the air shifted. My son climbed in, and I approached the driver's side, where his father waited. Can we talk? I asked. He stepped out, puffed up with familiar aggression. I knew this posture well, an attempt to intimidate. But I stood steady, my voice calm, and I shared my concern for our daughter's well-being in his care. He postured like an agitated turkey, trying to rattle me. From the porch, my husband watched closely, his concern visible. I silently prayed he wouldn't have to intervene. I had been trapped before. I didn't want to be rescued, just heard. My daughter sat beside her new stepdad, relaxed. My son slumped in the passenger seat, eyes cast down. Was he embarrassed? Was he already gone in spirit? I suggested our daughter stay with us for a few more days. The car door closed. The car rolled slowly toward the cul-de-sac, that familiar space where things pause, the place to reconsider. I waved, hopeful, but my son didn't look up. And just like that, he was gone. I stood frozen on the sidewalk. Seconds felt like eternity. One truth echoed loudly in my chest. Our lives had just changed forever. I turned and walked back toward the house. Passing my daughter and husband on the porch, I whispered, I just lost my son forever. I just lost my son forever. I didn't need to be in the car to know. I could feel it in my body. I could fight for years in a broken court system, but I already knew the most brutal truth: surrender. I loved my son too much to make him stay. I loved him more than I loved myself. The days dragged like lead. My thoughts swirled in anxiety. Was he okay? Was he happy? Was he safe? Did he choose this or was he forced? Questions without answers. I had to find a way to live inside a new kind of silence. Each night, the ache deepened. The quiet pressed in. I knew it would be months before I could hold him again. My lily pad was sinking. I needed to find solid ground. I turned to the only place I knew could carry me, a place that had cradled me in childhood chaos. So I built a space of communication in the sky. In this sacred space, I would close my eyes and rise above. A soft couch made in the clouds. I would call to him, and he would come, curling into my arms. In that realm, time didn't matter. Our bond didn't bend to earthly laws. He would tell me about his day. I would hold him in love, in light, and everything words can't touch. Mother's Day came and we picked him up. He looked happy. He leapt into the car like no time had passed. He handed me a homemade card with a grin, the first I'd ever received. Inside, he had written, I get your hugs every day. Tears filled my eyes. The return ride blurred into grief. We approached the house he now called home. One spot in love and hope. It now stood between a son and his mother, his sister, and the man who would be there when he needed him. The goodbye was the hardest part. He was okay. It was the three of us in the car who weren't. And that's when I began to save my own life. I became a meditator, not for peace, but for survival. Chapter 2: Awakening the Healer. It took almost a year for my body to collapse under the weight of everything I hadn't yet processed. What we carry emotionally will always find a way to speak through the body. And mine was preparing a dramatic wake-up call. Little by little, parts of me hardened. It felt like grief was turning to stone inside of me. I was meditating daily, doing everything I thought I was supposed to do to find peace. But instead of releasing, I was storing it. My sorrow burrowing deeper, making a home in my body. And the question that haunted me was this: how do you grieve for someone who's still alive? My body began to resist. Stairs became a struggle. Sleep was elusive. Letting go felt impossible. I sought answers through traditional medicine, but nothing seemed to work. Something inside me whispered, try something different. Without knowing it, I had already started walking the path towards energy medicine. Someone told me about a local healer. I had nothing to lose. That's often how these journeys begin. When the old way no longer works, I lay on her treatment table, unsure of what to expect. But when her hands touched me, I felt something open. It was like a roof above me split, and the current of light and possibility poured in. Then I heard a voice, not out loud, but inside my being. It sounded familiar, like a memory I hadn't remembered yet. It began showing me visions tied to the exact places where the healer was working on my body. I was being taught, guided, and before I could stop myself, I blurted, who are you? Where have you been? I've been suffering down here. That moment changed everything. Something ancient inside of me woke up. I realized this voice had always been with me. I was just finally quiet enough to hear it. This was the beginning of my direct relationship with the divine. I called it Source, God, the universe. The name didn't matter as much as the feeling. I was being shown the truth that had always been within me. The body has its way of bringing us back into balance. When we stray too far from our true nature, it will send a signal. Sometimes the signal comes as a whisper, sometimes it comes as a collapse. In my case, it was both. That moment was a course correction. If you have a calling and you don't answer it, the universe will ring louder. Eventually, it will make sure you pick up. I wasn't broken. I was being summoned. That day, I started learning how the body stores energy. I didn't read it in a book. I was being shown directly, cell by cell, message by message. I want to share with you the wisdom that was shared with me. Everything we experience physically is often rooted in an emotional or mental feeling we haven't yet processed. These unprocessed feelings settle into the body, quietly waiting for our attention. When we experience an injury or discomfort in a specific area, it may be the body's way of releasing and healing the energy that's been trapped there. The left foot or ankle holds the energy of home. That could mean your childhood house or your current one. An injury in the left foot is often a clue that something unresolved is lingering in that space. It's like the body is trying to create a physical release valve. Energy must move one way or the other. The right foot or right ankle is all about your path beyond the home, your career, your calling, your place in the world. If this part of your body is speaking up, it might be asking you to say yes to something you've been hesitant about. When I considered leaving my mortgage job to follow my heart's pull, it didn't make much logical sense, But the feeling was undeniable. One weekend in the Colorado River, after days of asking the universe for clarity, I stepped off the boat dock and rolled my right ankle. Hard. It swelled immediately. The message was clear. Something had to shift. The old energy was clearing to make room for what was next. The left knee carries self-forgiveness. It's where we store pride and we need to lay it down. The right knee carries forgiveness for others. If you're holding on to something, this area be, may begin to ache until you release it. Holding grudges makes us sick. The front of the thighs represents dreams we've set aside, desires we put on the back burner. I once worked with a woman who had a tumor in her front thigh. In our session, she shared she had always wanted to be a ballerina, but life never made space for it. Her body had been holding that unmet dream. The back of the thighs store energy from the past, the stuff we try and walk away from, but it still follows us. It's the part of us that tries to keep moving forward while dragging yesterday behind us. The message here is simple. Stop looking back. You don't walk backwards and your eyes face forward for a reason. The hips. The hips hold our deepest emotional residue. The left side stores unprocessed energy from our relationships with women, mothers, daughters, sisters. The right side stores the same for our relationships with men. When we lose someone, that energy can show up here. Sometimes it feels like tightness, sometimes it becomes painful, but it's always asking to be acknowledged, then released. The heart is where it all meets. Four chambers, two feminine chambers on the left side, two masculine chambers on the right side. The lower half of the heart holds our everyday self. The upper half of the heart is the higher self. When they come into harmony, the soul speaks. Our shoulders are our balance beams. They carry the weight of responsibility, sometimes the loss of our parents, of unspoken things. Our hands are natural healers. As children, we instinctively placed our hands on our wounds. That wisdom never left us. We've just forgotten. The lower back. The lower back is where we look for support, often in the wrong places. If yours is hurting, look up. The heavens are your support system. Try leaning into them. The back of the neck is the bridge between the soul and the body. The back of the neck is where the soul attaches to the body. That's why scarves, necklaces, and malas, they feel sacred while protecting that space. When you rub the back of your neck after a long day, you're instinctively trying to clear the energy stored there. The temples on your forehead are literal portals. Have you ever noticed how you rub your temples when you have a headache? That's you activating the divine connection. The temple is the body's sacred site. Your body is quite literally a temple. The body is a storage unit for your life. When you're ready to learn, it's ready to show you. Each place it whispers from carries wisdom. Cortisol, the stress hormone, becomes a delivery system for our traumas. I call it traumatized cortisol. The energy is stored and held until we're ready to examine it. Some people naturally release it, others store it for decades, waiting for the moment when the lesson can be received. The moment for me had arrived. I stopped seeing my life as something happening to me and began to understand it was all happening for me. The healer didn't save me. The meditation didn't fix me. The doctors didn't cure me. I answered the call. And that's when everything changed. See you next time. Peace and love.